This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Yunxiao slowly opened his eyes and changed the spell in his hand. The dragon-like faint spirit qi around him was absorbed into his body, and only then did he stand up from the rock. The shock in the old man's eyes disappeared as he smiled. There's no such thing as a false reputation. Lord Yunxiao's cultivation technique really broadened the two of our horizons. I'm sorry, Yunxiao said indifferently. I'm sorry. In just the time it takes to brew a cup of tea, the old man said. Lord Yunxiao's spirit qi absorption speed, according to my calculations, is probably more than 10 times that of the same rank, right? He was shocked by the result. What did it mean? It meant that the other party's cultivation speed would be 10 times faster than others, and Yunxiao's young face also confirmed his speculation. Yunxiao frowned and said coldly, "Does this have anything to do with you?" Lord Yunxiao, there's no need to be angry. The old man stroked his beard and said with a smile, "I'm just surprised. Let's get to know each other again. I'm a famous servant, Piyu Jinshan. This is the Lu family's 8th-tier alchemist, Lu Huafeng." Lu Huafeng said, "I heard that Lord Yunxiao's master can increase the success rate of refining the 5-element belly white fish that Piyu Jinshan needs to 40%? I wonder who Lord Yunxiao's master is." "You won't know even if I tell you," Yunxiao said. "Piyu Jinshan, do you want to refine a profound level weapon or not?" "Of course," Piyu Jinshan said. "Lord Yunxiao, can you help me take a look at this cauldron of turtle snake purple jade pills first?" Lu Huafeng slapped on the cauldron and the lid flew away. The fragrance of the pills spread out. With a light sniff, one could feel that their limbs were full of strength. A mist spread out, and 3 ancient-looking pills were caught by Lu Huafeng in the air, then slowly landed in front of Yunxiao. "What do you think of the quality of this pill, Master Yunxiao?" Yunxiao glanced at it, and a strange look appeared on his face as he praised, "However, the quality is excellent. I believe this is your best refinement, right? Without hundreds or thousands of trials, there would not be such an outcome." "I can't judge it by its shape and color alone," Lu Huafeng said with a smile. "Why don't you try one, Master Yunxiao?" "Oh." Yunxiao had a strange look on his face as he said, "Can I eat it?" After all, the turtle snake purple jade pill was a famous spiritual pill and was very valuable. "Of course." Lu Huafeng laughed arrogantly. He was obviously satisfied with his pills. Yunxiao did not stand on ceremony. He would naturally not give up such an opportunity to improve his cultivation. He picked up one and swallowed it. After a moment of silence, he said, "Overflowing with spiritual energy, solidifying the foundation and cultivating the essence, nourishing the qi and soul, the materials chosen shouldn't be ordinary, right?" Originally, he didn't have much interest in this 8th-tier medicinal pill, but after taking one, he found that it was actually equivalent to several days of bitter cultivation and was much stronger than the ordinary turtle snake purple jade pill. At that moment, he didn't hold back and took the other 2 and swallowed them. This buy-in. Lu Huafeng and Piyu Jinshan were both dumbfounded. Yunxiao swallowed the pills and ate them without hesitation. Looking at their expressions, he asked in surprise, "What? Didn't Master Huafeng say that I can eat it?" Lu Huafeng's face was covered in cold sweat as he said awkwardly, "Of course, of course." In his heart, however, he was cursing endlessly. "I let you eat, but I didn't let you eat it all. You deserve to die." Yunxiao put on a thoughtful look and said, "If I'm not wrong, the main ingredients of this elixir, the tortoiseshell and the snake gall, are from 9th-order monster beasts, right?" Lu Huafeng's face flashed with a mocking expression, "Master Yunxiao, you're indeed amazing. The tortoiseshell is a Tianluo dark xuanwu, and the snake gall is a 100-ringed copper snake. It's further supplemented with lonely fox grass, yiksha bead, flowing light leaf, wuwei demon bamboo, and capricorn silk. A total of 7 main materials. The heavenly dark tortoise and the 100-ringed copper snake are both extremely rare and precious items," Yunxiao said in surprise. "Isn't it a waste to use them to refine the turtle snake purple jade pill?" The other 5 spirit herbs are also extremely rare and great tonics. But, won't the lone core fox grass, yiksha bead, and the gallbladder of the 100-ringed copper snake be poisonous when mixed together? The Wuwei demonic bamboo, Capricorn silk, and Tian Luo dark xuanwu together seem to be poisonous too, right? Lu Huafeng's eyes flashed with admiration as he clapped and laughed. As expected of a 9th-tier alchemist. I'm really impressed. The combined poison of the lone core foxgrass, yiksha pearl, and the gallbladder of the 100-ringed copper pole snake could freeze a martial artist's spiritual qi and cause it to circulate and stagnate. On the other hand, the combined poison of the Wuwei demonic bamboo, Capricorn silk, and Tian Luo dark xuanwu could injure a martial artist's divine sense and make his consciousness blurry. However, these 2 poisons were only effective on martial artists below the martial supreme realm. The flowing brightness leaf was needed in order to have a fatal effect on martial supreme realm experts. This flowing light leaf is the key to these 3 turtle snake purple jade pills. It uses a 3,000-year-old flowing light leaf spirit grass. It's hard to find. Yunxiao came to a realization and said, no wonder this 8th grade elixir can also increase my power. There are so many rare treasures in it. Master Hua Feng, you are so kind. The smile on Lu Huafeng's face disappeared and he said coldly, Master Yunxiao, I really admire your calmness. You're still so calm even when you're about to die. This is not a mentality that a martial artist your age should have. His heart had been pounding, fearing that Yunxiao had some powerful force behind him. No. Yunxiao shook his head and said, I don't have a master. By the way, why did you give me the poison pill? Lu Huafeng snorted heavily and said, if I didn't have a master, it would be easy. Since Master Yunxiao is going to die soon, why don't you just take out all the 9th-tier treasures? I see, Yunxiao said. You're after my money. Don't tell me you don't want to refine that profound level weapon anymore, he asked while looking at Piyu Jinshan. Piyu Jinshan's face was bitter as he said, Lord Yunxiao, I didn't have a choice. Don't blame me. Master Hua Feng said that the Lu family will be responsible for making it for me. Yunxiao rolled his eyes at him and said, you lured me here to kill me and take my treasure. And now, you're telling me not to blame you? Are you crazy or am I stupid? If I don't blame you, then who should I blame? Piyu Jinshan said helplessly, I'm also living under the roof, so I have no choice but to lower my head. When I was collecting the materials, I accidentally leaked the treasured sword that Lord Yunxiao had pawned with me. It was discovered by the Lu family, so they asked me to set up a trap to lure Lord Yunxiao here. My petty power is not enough to resist the Lu family. Don't make yourself sound so innocent. If you weren't greedy and came to me to appraise the value of the ice sword, how could this happen? Lu Huafeng said coldly. You should be the one who broke the promise first, right? What's done is done. Piyu Jinshan's face reddened. There's no point in saying more. A cold light flashed in Lu Huafeng's eyes. Master Yunxiao, are you going to be honest yourself, or do you want us to be honest for you? I just want to know where my ice sword is now, Yunxiao said. Where is it? Lu Huafeng sneered. You'll only feel sad if you know. That thing is a peerless weapon of death. It's not for a child like Master Yunxiao to play with. You'd better behave yourself. I'm not an honest man by nature, Yunxiao sighed and said. I think it's better for you two to be honest for me. His body had been baptized by the Great One Profound Qi, and any power could be assimilated directly. He had already sensed the little bit of poison when it first entered his mouth, but it had all been turned into tonic medicine and absorbed by his body. Lu Huafeng's face darkened as he gave Piyu Jinshan a look. I can't help myself when I'm under the roof, Piyu Jinshan said to Yunxiao seriously. Lord Yunxiao, I'm sorry for offending you. With a wave of his hand, a violent wave of air spread out. The air was crushed and exploded in an instant, and a sharp, ear-piercing whistle sounded. A cold gleam flickered in Yunxiao's eyes as he threw a palm toward the force. In an instant, a 5-colored light bloomed in his palm, covering the shrill howl and suppressing the force. Bang bang bang. Piyu Jinshan was shocked and wanted to retreat, but it was already too late. The palm wind struck his chest, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood and fly backward. You're weak, you're weak. Pu Jinshan? Lu Huafeng was taken aback, and his face was filled with horror. Pu Jinshan was a 2-star martial emperor, but he was injured by a single palm strike from him? He didn't believe that his pill would lose its effect. Yunxiao stomped his foot and leaped forward, trying to capture Lu Huafeng alive and force him to bring down his cold sword. Suddenly, a stream of energy fell from the sky, and the entire space was frozen. It was as if a huge rock weighing thousands of kilograms had fallen. Yunxiao's face flickered as he spun in the air and returned to where he was in an instant, a cold gleam flashing in his eyes. Master Huafeng, I've already told you that you could have just sent someone to capture him. There's no need to go through so much trouble. Not only did you lose so many precious medicinal herbs, but there's also no effect at all. A figure slowly descended from the sky. He was dressed in a green brocade robe, and his face was very clean and shaven. He revealed a lazy expression, and he held a feather fan in his hand, constantly waving it. At the same time, more than a dozen beams of light shot over from all directions and landed around the forest, completely surrounding Yunxiao. Lu Huafeng's face was cold as he snorted, Lu Chaohai, are you deliberately making fun of me? The pale-faced man, Lu Chaohai, smiled and waved his feather fan. I wouldn't dare. I also know that this is Master Nanshi's plan. He wants to capture a living person, and Master Huafeng is only the executor. Now that the plan has failed, Master Huafeng should return to your family first. Lu Nanshi was Lu Huafeng's father and a 9th-tier alchemist who was in charge of the Lu family's alchemy. He was famous in the eastern region. Lu Chaohai looked at Lu Huafeng's gloomy face and added while waving his feather fan, I'll take care of this. This kid is a little tricky. If I hurt Master Huafeng during the fight, the chief will not let me off easily. What's so difficult about him? He's just a 1-star martial emperor. If you can still hurt me, then you must have done it on purpose. Lu Huafeng snorted in disdain. Lu Chaohai shook his head. This kid isn't an ordinary 1-star martial emperor. You've seen Pu Jinshan just now. Even a 2-star martial emperor can't take a single move from him. After Pu Jinshan was sent flying, he also ran back. When he heard this, his face immediately turned red. Lu Chaohai glanced at Pu Jinshan and said indifferently, it's not humiliating to lose to this person. Pu Jinshan's face was extremely red, and he didn't dare to answer. I'll watch Lord Chaohai show his might and capture this man, Lu Huafeng said coldly. Lu Chaohai frowned and said, in that case, Master Huafeng, please stand further away and watch. He could do nothing about the alchemists in these families, but he could not afford to offend them. Lu Huafeng didn't make things difficult for him. He took the initiative to retreat dozens of meters and watched from a distance. Lu Chaohai turned around and looked at Yunxiao with a smile. Young Master Yun, I've admired your style for a long time. Will you surrender yourself, or should I make you surrender? Yunxiao. I know that young Master Yun won't be honest, Lu Chaohai said with a faint smile. He pointed his feather fan forward and said, do it. The surrounding martial artists rushed up one after another, and all kinds of qi-jin burst out. Pu Jinshan also rushed up behind the crowd, wanting to take revenge for his previous humiliation. The entire forest was being destroyed by these powerful forces, and the vacuum became larger and larger. Yunxiao's eyes were cold as he shot out a beam of sword energy from his body and pointed his finger forward. Tens of thousands of sword energy beams gathered at the tip of his finger, and the entire sky suddenly changed color. The clear sky suddenly turned dark and gloomy, making people feel suffocated. Lu Chaohai's expression changed drastically. The sword qi was pointed at him. Under the invisible pressure, he could not help but take a step back in shock. Yunxiao's cold face suddenly broke into a smile, and the corners of his mouth turned up with unspeakable sarcasm and mockery, which made Lu Chaohai fly into a rage. He drew a circle in the air with his finger and then looked around. He shouted, Sword Cloud Rain. The 11 northern heaven cold star swords appeared and turned into countless wind and rain. Those warriors were immediately swept into the thousands of sword qi. Countless sword raindrops kept hitting their protective emperor chi, and even more of them hit the weapons, making countless clanking sounds. A warrior forcefully withstood the sword rain and broke through the transformed rain sword chi. He shouted and attacked. A saber beam followed the warrior and slashed at Yunxiao's head. Humph. Yunxiao snorted coldly as he flicked his finger. A ball of thunder shot out from his fingertip and struck the saber beam, causing a dazzling flash of lightning to burst out. The extremely strong power of thunder passed through the blade light and shook into the warrior's body, breaking the emperor chi. The martial artist was struck by the lightning, and he was in great pain as he flew backward. Try my raging inferno. Frigid cloud force. Another two people broke through the sword rain and rushed in. Under their joint efforts, waves of true energy surged and squeezed, and endless moves came one after another, making the sense of oppression stronger and stronger. Yunxiao's sword intent circulated around him, and he suddenly opened his immemorial heavenly eye. The power of wind and fire roared out, crashing into the pressure that the two men had put down together. A series of explosions rang out, and the vague shape of a crocodile appeared in the wind and fire, waving its fists and punching wildly. Bang! Bang! The pressure exploded like a steel plate. The spiritual pressure spread out and the two martial artists were sent flying. The crocodile had gone mad. With a roar, it turned into a wheel of wind and fire, rolling into the wind and rain around it and burning toward the martial artists. Arg! Two cultivators were touched by the power of wind and fire and died on the spot. One was instantly dried up, while the other was burned to the ground without a corpse. In the distance, Lu Huafeng was dumbfounded. More than a dozen martial emperors of the Nine Heavens realm had joined forces, but they were still defeated by Yunxiao. Humph, don't be so arrogant, open your silk scarf feather fan. A majestic force spread out from the feather fan in Lu Chaohai's hand. The sky was filled with stormy waves, and tornadoes and waves whizzed out. Wind and fire wheels. Yunxiao's eyes turned cold as he cried out. Wind and fire wheels. The crocodile immediately transformed into the forces of wind and fire, returning to his hand and spinning rapidly. The two combined into one, using the wind to start the fire. The strong burning aura spread out, and with a loud roar, it charged forward. Boom boom boom. The water dragon and the crocodile collided in the air. Lu Chaohai's pupils shrank. He cast a seal from his feather fan and the water immediately rose up, wave after wave. Bang! The crocodile finally couldn't hold on any longer. It was squeezed to death by the water dragon and exploded. Suddenly, a thunderbolt rushed into the explosion and rose up along the waves. Yunxiao's figure appeared, standing on the top of the waves. His whole body was covered in a transparent light, and the power of thunder and lightning was gathering more and more, turning him extremely fat. He performed a thunder incantation with one hand and smashed down with a hammer in the other. Lu Chaohai's face changed drastically as he performed a few incantation gestures with the feather fan in his hand. The wave under Yunxiao's feet immediately transformed into a human figure that kept growing larger and larger. As soon as the head was formed, it roared and was hit by the hammer. Boom! As if thunder had descended from the sky, the water elemental giant's head exploded. A golden Maha ancient text appeared and continued to crush down. The entire water elemental giant collapsed directly, but the power of the lightning did not decrease and continued to bombard Lu Chaohai. Lu Chaohai's face was ashen, but he didn't panic in his shock. He conjured a spell with his left hand and waved the feather fan in his right hand, which became transparent and emitted a jade green light. Then, he welcomed the thunderbolt. Boom! Long. As the thunderbolt struck down, the force inside became stronger and stronger, like the waves in the Yangtze River pushing the waves in front. Each wave was fiercer than the last, and thunderclouds were formed on the feather fan. This was the power of the thunder art that Yunxiao had cultivated. Every time he fused a new element of thunder and lightning, not only would it purify the element of the thunder and lightning, but it would also double the power of the attack. At this moment, he was carrying several types of strange lightning and had poured them all into the hammer. The power of the hammer was directly superimposed to 18 bolts. Crack. Lu Chaohai's pupils contracted. To his horror, he found that his feather fan had cracked. Bang. That penetrative feather fan profound-level weapon was instantly shattered and the skeleton broke into pieces and scattered in all directions. The feathers flew all over the sky and the entire time seemed to have suddenly quieted down. Under the thunderbolts, the flying feathers were like the morning of death. Boom. As soon as the feather fan was broken, the thunderbolt landed on Lu Chaohai's body, bearing the last two strongest thunderbolts. Boom. Lu Chaohai's hair was blown away. His long hair flew in the air and danced wildly with his white clothes. A stream of blood flowed out of his mouth. Yunxiao took a deep breath, and his eyes were also filled with shock. This was the first time he had used the thunder art after fusing with the 9-yin absolute thunder, and its power was far beyond his expectations. According to the thunder art provided by Lu Jianba, even 18 layers should not have such overwhelming power. He looked at the thunder hammer in his hand. Its color seemed to have changed. Before, it was black like a big piece of iron. Now, when he looked at it carefully, there seemed to be some green patterns on it. The power of the thunder art was so abnormal, it should have an inseparable relationship with this hammer. The martial artists around them were all stunned. They suddenly took a deep breath and kept retreating. Fear spread uncontrollably in their hearts. Even the 6 stars martial sovereign, Lu Chaohai, could not withstand his thunder godlike attack, so how could they still have the heart to fight? Pfft. After holding on for a while, Lu Chaohai finally coughed out a mouthful of blood, and his aura was greatly weakened. He looked at Yunxiao in shock and anger, his eyes full of unwillingness. A 6-star martial emperor had been defeated by a 1-star martial emperor. No one would be willing to accept this. Lu Huafeng was even more dumbfounded. Piyu Jinshan was also extremely frightened. He seemed to have realized what he had done wrong, and this mistake might bring him a fatal consequence. His legs were somewhat weak. Don't underestimate me. You're courting death. Lu Chaohai roared in anger. His roar shook the surroundings. Emperor Qi burst out of his body and condensed into a transparent giant spirit behind him. Like him, the giant spirit put its palms together and slapped forward. Yunxiao's eyes turned cold as he said, "Since you've lost, what's there to be unwilling about? Martial arts drift far away, you're just a grasshopper." He made a hand seal, and a black shadow appeared behind him. It turned into a true devil giant spirit, and it also pressed its palm down. Boom. Although the giant spirit behind Lu Chaohai was huge, it was nothing but a dwarf in front of the true fiend Dharma idol. When the two palms collided, the demonic qi corroded the emperor qi of the 9 heavens in a frenzy. Finally, it broke the palm of the other party and pressed down fiercely. Boom. Lu Chaohai was sent flying by the true fiend Dharma idol's palm. Blood spurted out of his body as he landed in the distance. It was unknown if he was dead or alive. Yunxiao performed an incantation gesture in the air, and the true fiend Dharma idol immediately faded and eventually disappeared. The people in the surroundings suddenly sucked in a breath of cold air and immediately turned into rays of light to escape from this place. Even if they stayed for another minute, they felt that they would collapse. Yunxiao retracted all his primordial energy. His face was as calm as water, as if nothing had happened except for his slightly pale face. He raised his eyes and glanced at Lu Huafeng in the distance. Lu Huafeng's body trembled. His eyes were as cold as water, and he couldn't help but tremble. He immediately teleported to escape. Suddenly, a ray of light shone down and locked the space in all directions. He was shocked to find that no matter how he tried to use his spiritual power to attack the space, he could not move an inch. Holding the Great Sorrow Twilight Cloud Mirror in his hand, Yunxiao walked over step by step and said coldly, "Where did my sword go?" Lu Huafeng's body trembled uncontrollably. He was not afraid of death, but the fear in his heart was getting stronger and stronger. As an alchemist, he suddenly realized that Yunxiao was launching a spiritual attack at him. In his panic, he suddenly raised his head and saw a pair of blood-red eyes, which were shining with a demonic light. As a peak 8th tier alchemist, he suddenly lost his mind and gradually lost consciousness. Where's my sword? At the Patriarch's. Yunxiao frowned and said in a cold voice, as Fengling City's city lord, the Lu family is one of the top families in the world. How dare you covet a 9th tier profound armament from me? That's not an ordinary 9th tier profound armament, Lu Huafeng said in a daze. It's the legendary sharp blade, the cold sword Frost.